Hello everyone, it's Zenith20 here. Today we'll be going on a rather different track and we'll be beginning to learn Visual Basic or VB.NET. In today's video, we'll be mainly focusing on how exactly are we going to start using Visual Basic. And before we even start using the language, we have to learn where we will write it. The place where the Visual Basic is written is known as an IDE or an Integrated Development Environment. One of the popular integrated development environments for Visual Basic is Visual Studio. Visual Studio is an integrated development environment from Microsoft. It is used for developing web and desktop applications, as well as mobile applications, cloud services, and more. It includes tools for coding, debugging, and building applications, as well as a wide range of project templates to get developers running quickly. Visual Studio is available in several editions, but for this tutorial, we'll be using the free community edition. Now, you may be asking, if you're already a developer, you may have used the Visual Studio Code, another brother of Visual Studio. So, why aren't we using Visual Studio Code? Firstly, Visual Studio Code is a free open source code editor that has a small memory footprint than other IDEs. Visual Studio Code is not as feature-rich as Visual Studio, but it is still a capable code editor. It includes features such as version control integration, support for multiple languages, syntax highlighting, and debugging capabilities. In terms of memory usage, Visual Studio requires more memory than VS Code, making it more suitable for large projects. So, why not Visual Studio Code if it has so many merits? Well, Visual Basic is not supported in Visual Studio Code because VS Code is a code editor, not an integrated development environment. Visual Basic requires an IDE such as Visual Studio in order to be used. Visual Studio Code does not include the same features such as debugging and graphical design tools which are required for Visual Basic development. Now, let's move on to setting up your first Visual Studio. To set up Visual Studio, begin by downloading and installing the IDE on your computer from the official Microsoft website. After doing so, you must install any necessary components, such as the .NET Framework or other development libraries. Now, the Visual Studio interface is the first thing you will be seeing. The user interface of Visual Studio consists of several elements, including menus and toolbars, a workspace for constructing applications, a code editor for writing code, and debugging tools for testing applications. The menus and toolbars allow developers to access various advanced features, while the workspace is used to build applications in form of projects and solutions. Now, what exactly is the term solution over here? Well, the solution is being referred to the Solution Explorer. The Solution Explorer is the window which shows the hierarchical format of your files. The code editor provides syntax highlighting and code completion capabilities, while the debugger allows developers to identify and troubleshoot issues with their code. Furthermore, Visual Studio can be customized in many ways. Using the Tools menu, we can customize it to fit the needs of the developers. This can include changing the color scheme, or customizing the user interface, or adding custom keyboard shortcuts, and more. Additionally, Visual Studio has an extensive list of extensions that can be used to further customize the IDE. So, this was a brief overview about Visual Studio. In the next video, we'll be discussing how you'll set up your first Visual Basic project easily.